Good morning, good morning. Good morning to our Predicted Trades family. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Hope everyone's ready for a fun week ahead. Real quick, we do have on the economic calendar let's see, Monday, Tuesday, we've got some foreign exchange rates. Big thing is Wednesday, we have FOMC, 2 p.m., Powell. We all know how this can go. And then we have unemployment, non-farm payroll as well. We also have some earnings going on this week. If you look around, it is a bunch of retail. There's some energy as well, some healthcare, but definitely a lot of retail. Shopify being a big one, Etsy. So yeah, plenty still going on this week. Oh, and for chips, AMD on Tuesday going to be a big one. And we will most likely be hitting NVIDIA off of a sympathy move with AMD. Now digging in, let's see. Last week on ES, we hit this key zone. I only have a couple of zones shaded, and it's kind of the top and bottom of what we've been dealing with this year. Let's go ahead and back out to a higher time frame just to show. Come on, there it is. So, most of the year we've been in a down cycle. And this zone around 4140 is basically what caught us and sent us back up, with 4101 being the low of year. We hit that zone and bounced, hit it again and bounced. Now we are back at it. Last week we tapped it, sent us back up, and we drew some trend lines from the lows. When those broke on Friday, we were shorting everything right back down. We are now Friday, we ran into the bottom of a 4-hour squeeze and started to catch a bounce. Now we are coming back to retest those levels. We did set a new low on the overnight, kind of around 4110. We do have that 4101 to keep an eye out, low of year. I have to say, kind of expecting a bit of a bounce there, and for us to go back up for a day or two until FOMC report on Wednesday. If you're not aware, I'm sure we should be. We're looking to see what FOMC and the rate increase looks like. 0.5% is kind of priced in, we believe. So if it's more than that, we could see some reaction. Overall, though, we are coming back to key levels. We are slipping them a little bit, but we have a key level below and a big old psychological 4100. Looking to see these hold today and bounce us back up. I could see us slipping them for a second just to trap some folks short and then bounce up. Should these give out and we just start to dive, it could kind of be a free fall to 40.50, 40.30. That is third Keltner, which is starting to get oversold, right? So we might need to have a relief bounce and go up before we can continue going down. So levels to watch today on ES. We do have a 30-minute squeeze here that we're starting to kind of slip outside of, but technically it's still intact. We're about to start a new 30-minute, and we get 2 more 30-minute candles before open. So let's see if we start to get back into that 30-minute squeeze. Ultimately, once we start to get back over 4120 in the cash session, I could see us accelerating up to 4140. If we can get through that and some of this pre-market action, 4165, the top of the squeeze, 4180, very key. It's where we tried to bounce before selling off. So should we get there, we might see resistance. Moving on to NQ. NQ has already slipped and set a new low of year. We can back out just to verify. But there you have it. There's the whole year, and NQ just set a new low of year pre-market. So tech has been leading to the upside, to the downside. Let's keep an eye on this. Ooh, darn it. Let me back to my 30-minute. There we go. And real quick, let me get my... There we go, 30-minute Ichimoku. So, on NQ, looking for this 4-hour squeeze, which is still intact, to be a reversal point. We have seen many times in the past 4-hour squeezes can be where we tend to reverse. So looking for this to hold. We might slip it a little, retest this low, but ultimately closing the first or second 30-minute candle of the cash session above this 800 has a chance to start sending us back up to these pre-market highs, and this 30-minute Ichimoku, we have a big old flat top right at around that 13,120, so that will be a very important level. And this 150, should we get there? Should we start to break down? We really don't have much in the way of key levels from this year. We'll have to go back a little bit further. There are going to be levels out there. I actually have marked them in the past. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. So should we start to give out and fire this 4-hour squeeze down today? This will be the next target to the downside, that 450, 460. Third Keltner sitting right at around 12,400. But ultimately trying to see if this 12,790 can hold us and send us back up into that 30-minute Ichimoku with a flat top right around 13,100. The ready. Also just set a new low of year. It does have a very big 2-day squeeze that is starting to open up as it sits also at the bottom of a 4-hour squeeze. So let's see if that can hold us and start to send us back through 30-minute Ichimoku, that top at 1890, which was very key on Friday. They tried to bounce through it, but got rejected. 1900, very big key level. Above this, we can start to see upside. If we stay below this, we'll keep going down. Yeah. YM. Although it did come back to test, it did not set a new low yet from Friday. And it is still pretty far from its yearly low. If we step out, there we go. Yearly low from the Ukraine invasion, still, about like 600 points lower. We do have a daily squeeze that's been opening up. We do have a 2-day right below it. Right at about that 32,600. So if we do slip today, basically looking for us to go to that 32,600, the second Keltner down, and where this 2-day squeeze was before it started to open up. But ultimately we could catch a bounce right at around this 32,800, start making our way back up to 33,400, where this 30-minute Ichimoku, this is a 2-hour. Let me go back, there we go. About the same though, around that 33,400 is where this 30-minute Ichimoku top is. So basically looking for a hold and bounce to retest this. Maybe even get above it Tuesday into Wednesday, and then maybe a revisit of the lows. But we got to play what the market gives us should we just start to give out. We've got our targets to the downside. Apple. Apple had pretty decent earnings, but not much forward guidance. And Amazon dropped hard, so Apple came back. It did look strong, like it wanted to lead, but market drug it back. We are pretty stacked on these squeezes. With a 2-hour, I'll just look over here, 2-hour, 4-hour down below to support us. 155 is a very big key level. As you can see, we slipped a little after hours, test it, take off. We are back at it, and it's right in the bottom of these squeezes. So looking for 155, 156 to hold today on Apple. Start send us back up. 158, 160, and this flat top right at 161. If 156, 155 can't hold, we will most likely slip to the extent of the squeeze around 151. Third Keltner down, sitting right below 150. That's targets to the upside and down for Apple today. Watch these squeeze clouds for interaction. AMD earning on Tuesday, so just going to be watching it today and Tuesday to see what the sentiment is. Chips were trying to lead last week in a way, but came back with the market. AMD's below 100, below 90. So definitely not a key focus for me, but definitely going to be watching it because it has earnings this week. Amazon down hard on earnings. Basically, you should be watching this 30-minute Ichimoku for any kind of entry for further downside or to get through, come back and retest to play upside. We do have the stock split happening around June 6th. So let's see when they decide to get it back over this 30-minute Ichimoku. It can be a good sentiment for a change in trend, and I am still kind of waiting for a potential run-up in Amazon into the stock split. Caterpillar had that epic run up to 240. Third Keltner came right on back. We are down at second Keltner and caught a bounce. We actually played this bounce right after earnings, right off the squeeze bottom, picking up like the maybe the 205s, definitely the 210s, and I think some 212.5s. We played that up Thursday. I think some swung it and hit a little Friday, but we had a great trade on Cat there. Right now, basically sitting right around its 30-minute Ichimoku. We have some squeezes below. Should we give up that 30-minute and head down? Basically, those squeeze bottoms right around 205, 206. So looking for that level to hold on Cat to get back above this 30-minute Ichimoku. Should we open and just rip on through it, as we do have a tiny little squeeze here around 208.5. should we stay above that and just rip through this 30-minute Ichimoku, we've got 214, 215, 216, the daily 8, daily 50, and the daily 21 up at the top of the squeeze. So wouldn't be surprised to see Cat lead and get back to the daily 21 and lead YM up before coming back. Should squeeze bottoms give out, we have that second Keltner psychological 200, which we didn't even test, 202. And should we keep giving out at 196 where the third Keltner is? Facebook. Nice reaction on earnings. Gap up on earnings. I've covered this lesson before, but I'll cover it again real quick. We want to mark this gap. So we grab where we closed. And most folks will mark it where we open, right? And extend that forward. But our first reaction was to come back to try to fill the gap. We did not quite make it. So the way I like to chew those gaps, oop, darn it. It's gonna let me. I'll just delete it and do another one. The way I like to do those gaps, let me grab close. You know, we open here, but we dip down, slap the daily 8 to keep going. So I'm going to mark that low, because of that is the rest of the gap fill, right? I'm also going to mark those closes, because we bounced, set this low, closed, open, and took off. So I'll cover this again soon and give a little more background, but we now have a gap on Facebook. Let's see if that gap can hold and send us higher. Could be a good sign for tech. Facebook hasn't led in quite a while. It's been getting beat up. So now with good earnings and a gap and guiding up, could be a good candidate. But starting to slip below 30-minute Ichimoku, so we want to keep an eye on that today. Flat bottom right around 202, ranging up to 207. Got to get through that. Got to squeeze top. So yeah, let's just see. Can we hold this 195 at the bottom of the squeeze, send us through this 30-minute Ichimoku, Facebook lead us back above the daily 50 and the daily 21 to start setting up for a good upside. Should 195 start to break out and we slip into the gap fill, giving up that low and getting into this could accelerate us through it to 175. That's if market is weak. So if market's weak and this gives out, it will get dragged down and we can play this gap fill. Google, down on earnings, not looking like it wants to be a leader. So I'm going to let this one simmer for a little while until it kind of breaks out of this post-earnings range that it's in. Going to be watching it for a gauge on tech. It is at third Keltner. Kind of hard to keep selling off further. GS. Banks got beat up pretty hard on Friday, but they are at the bottom of a 2-day, 1-day, and 4-hour squeeze, pretty much. So let's see if all of those can hold GS up, send it back up through the first Keltner at 313 to the daily 8, 317, and the daily mean up at 320. We do have pocket 305, so let's see if we can hold that, catch a rebound off pocket, and head back up to the daily moving averages. Slipping below and firing. It's pretty hard for price action to push through big fat squeeze clouds like this, so it will normally grind along them to get them to open up before going further. But should we start to slip 300, 295, JPM. Not a huge interest for me as far as if I'm playing banks. GS has been stronger lately, but JPM is pretty much at the extent of third Keltner. So I would expect the bounce around 118 to start to send it up. But I have to see what the market has in store. Microsoft up on earnings, doing good. Coming back a little into this gap fill. Again, let's go ahead and mark our gap the way that I like to do it. Wonderful. So, yeah, we had our gap, little dip back. Now we're starting to get into that gap. So as we open, looking for Microsoft to quickly get back above and out of the gap. If it does not and continues to slip, you can see we have a 4-hour squeeze bottom right down at the bottom of the gap. So if the market is going to be a little weak today, or even some tech rotation, we could see Microsoft continue this trend, dipping below 275, dip down to 270 just to come back after filling the gap. But overall, as far as tech, it did get above the mean and just slipping back below liquidity. So overall, let's see if we can get back out of this gap zone, back to the daily, or the 30-minute Ichimoku, and back to the daily 8s and daily 21s. Netflix. Does this look like something we want to be playing? Down on earnings. It's going to be held down by this 30-minute Ichimoku. Got above it just for a second and started to look strong just to come back with the market. So definitely be careful with Netflix. It's going to have these pops and all the way backs as it tries to get out of the bad headwind that it's stuck. So not a huge interest for me on Netflix. If we can get through Friday's high, it can start to track to 210 and back to the daily 8 at 220. But not a huge interest, kind of ugly. Don't want to mess with it. Nvidia. We've got a 4-hour and a 2-hour. I also noticed by looking over here at my watch list, which is part of the professor's tool belt. So yeah, Nvidia right at the bottom of the squeeze, just like we covered on AMD. Looking for it to bounce near last week's lows and start to head back up, especially with AMD's earnings on Tuesday after the bell. Keep an eye on this 30-minute Ichimoku. If chips want to be strong and we have a pop at open, that might be where it starts to stall out around that 192. Should we slip down into the squeeze cloud and not be able to get going, we might slip as far as that 175, but that's getting to third Keltner and a little oversold. QQQs. Let's see if this low from last week can hold us. We did slip it pre-market. We are back above it ever so slightly. So let's see if that can hold. As well as this 4-hour, I believe. Yep, 4-hour. Well, let's see if that 4-hour squeeze can bottom can hold us in this 310, 311. Send us back to this 30-minute Ichimoku and these two levels above. That's kind of my range for today. Should we give out 311, 310, 306 is where that third Keltner's at. Roku, not a huge interest either. Even if you try to mark a gap here, it's small and we're pretty much at it right now. So the only thing working for Roku today, and the fact that they didn't do horrible on earnings, a little bit of a beat and a move up. One thing working for them is they are above their 30-minute Ichimoku and pretty much filling that gap. So keep an eye on Roku. Want to see it kind of hold this area and 90. Could slip as far as this 88.9 where this 30-minute Ichimoku bottom is to get trucking back up through Friday's highs. But streamers are not really getting a ton of love lately, so not a huge interest for me on Roku. Shop has earnings this week. Premiums will be elevated, so not a huge focus for me either. But definitely going to keep an eye on it. We already know how they dealt with some e-commerce earnings, so we'll have to see. Snow. Not a huge interest, although last week on Monday I said Snow looking interesting and could break out. It did just that, got back to the daily 8, got held down, and then popped up to the daily mean. So overall, not a huge interest for me, and I do believe, when is their earnings? Yeah, later this month. Anyway, let's just move on. SPX. With the gap down, we are going to be a little lower. But it looks like we're not gapping down too hard. So, this 41.18, big key level. Let's see if that can hold. We are also down near third Keltner. So, expecting a bounce. We do have our 30-minute Ichimoku up around this 4,200. So let's see if psychological 4,100 and up to 4,120 can hold, send us back up to at least start getting up to these levels we were trying to hold last week, where we will most likely see some rejection and slip back. It's also worth Yes, and SPY would be a little better. I was going to say basically just drawing some trend lines to see where we start to get through, basically like through these highs, right? So we're already slipping some of the lows of last week, and this is the overall like macro resistance. So if we can hold and start to get up through, I would expect rejection at that trend line to hold us back. But on SPY, let's see if this 410.1 can hold. I do believe that's going to be low of year. Just go do a quick double check. Load it. There we go. Yep. Low of year for SPY, that 410.1. So let's see if we get down to test that or slip it at all. Interestingly enough, I am going to mark that 409.82 where the third Keltner used to be. We have been seeing weird instances where we will bounce where it used to be. So we got a little bit of a zone there to hold us up. Should we slip that? Third Keltner going to be landing down near around 405 today. But ultimately looking for this to hold and start to make our journey back through pre-market highs, back through this 414 on a journey to 418, 420. SQ. Do they do earnings this week? Yeah, SQ's earnings this week. So that'll be interesting. I'm going to keep an eye on that. I doubt premiums will be crazy elevated, but we do kind of have our lows and highs from last week set in a range. So I'm going to keep an eye on SQ, going to let it kind of settle and bounce around in there. So not a huge focus just yet. Tesla. So Tesla was hanging out up at 1,000. They sell, big money, sells before Elon, because why wait and ask ourselves, when is he going to sell? When is he going to sell? Because of this whole Twitter deal. On Monday, they deliberated on if they would accept his deal, and we pretty much heard that they would. Big money comes in, sells before Elon starts to, then leaves it for a day. Then Elon comes in and sells. So it fuels it a little more. I know that we, especially over in AP's section, caught the bulk of this drop, left runners, and hit it again. We did have a little gap up and try to go, running into squeeze tops and the daily 8, daily 50 before coming back down. Overall, Tesla way above the lows from last week. Excuse me. So let's see if this 850 can hold these squeeze bottoms. Let's see if we have to get back to test last week's low before going higher. But basically watching this 850, 840, squeeze 830 to bounce and send us back through this 30-minute Ichimoku. If we can get through that, we do have that 918 very key level right at the top of these squeezes with a 2-hour, 4-hour. And the 4-hour squeeze top kind of near the daily mean, which should be stepping down. So we kind of have our roadmap for Tesla on the week. Before we wrap up, we're going to check in on VIX, because VIX caught a nice bounce at the daily 8 last week. Once, twice, and now it's up at the top of a 4-hour squeeze. As I've said, 4-hour squeeze can be reversal points, and we have a key 35.30 up above. So let's see if the first reaction after open is a little dip. VIX might come up to hit this key level, basically looking for a rejection anywhere from this 34.5 to 35.3. Would like to see a rejection there and VIX come back down so the market can get a relief pop. With the daily 8 and the first Keltner back down at 30, where the 30-minute Ichimoku also is. So like I've said, sometimes before we go lower on the market, we need a relief pop to go a little higher. That would cause VIX to come back down, hit something like the daily 8 and the first Keltner before taking back off to get through second Keltner on the way to third. If we can get through this 35 and 0.3, 35.5, and fire this 4-hour squeeze up, probably headed to 37, but we do have third Keltner up there. Also, one thing I wanted to check this morning and cover with you guys, SQQQ, and I missed a Q. SQQQ is the inverse of the Qs, and we are at a very key level there, 50.5, kind of where we topped out pre-market last week. But with the sell-off, we came right back up on SQQQ. I was actually watching this on Friday as it interacted with the squeeze bottom. And when I saw this bounce, I was like, ah, here we go. So, starting to track SQQ a little bit more. One thing I do like for Confluence, we do have a 4-hour squeeze top up above. For SQQ, we have a 4-hour squeeze top up above for VIX, and we're about to tap both of them around open. So wouldn't be surprised for a little pop on these and then drop, and on the market a tiny dip and then a rip. Overall thesis for today, but can we pop up through this and kind of try to grind further, of course, but just trying to read the overall, where do we have resistance? The thicker a squeeze cloud is, the harder it is to get through, especially when it has the colors, which will show mid or high compression. So that's what we're looking for today for this week. And I'll see you all in chat. If you're new and this is your first time tuning in to Predicted Trades, I highly recommend you come check us out. we do offer a week pass for a moderate $25 where you can come in and test out our system for an entire week. We do offer a lot of guidance, technical analysis, as well as our proprietary Beast system, which on the options can tell you the best prices to buy and sell. So, thank you for tuning in. If you're thinking about joining predicted trades, definitely check out our website, pick up that week pass. We'll be doing our live prep every morning moving forward. So we'll see you back here tomorrow, and we'll see the rest of you in our chat. Good luck today.